brown skin Brenda with the supreme man. That's brown skin Brenda with the supreme man. With the supreme man. With the supreme man. That's brown skin Brenda with the supreme man. That's brown skin Brenda with the supreme man. That's brown skin Brenda with the supreme man. With the supreme man. With the supreme man. Started out young in the beauty salon, get dressed to get her hair pressed. It was mandatory. She couldn't object, and when she messed up her mother got upset. When she got a little older, perm kids was next under the sink. The whole place stank. And when the process was processed, her hair went shrank. Looking the number ashamed. Who was the blame? Going to school with pain. Now her self-esteem low. Getting picked on in every classroom she go. One day she'll grow. The power will glow. When its soul ignites through the night, it takes total control of a supreme goddess. That's the modest, no the hottest, no conceal. That's this. That's brown skin Brenda with the supreme man. That's brown skin Brenda with the supreme man. That's brown skin Brenda with the supreme man. With the supreme man. With the supreme man. That's brown skin Brenda with the supreme man. That's brown skin Brenda with the supreme man. That's brown skin Brenda with the supreme man. With the supreme man. With the supreme man. Her hair won't grow, so she's afraid to show what it looks like from day to night. So she wear weird weaves and so long. She was like so long. Her attitude is fuck, yeah. She stuck with blue tracks in the scalp. When she tries to take them out, she goes out. Now she's adjusted to the peer pressure, but in shine she's disgusted. Her identity's covered up, blonde wig on her hair. Are you trying to be a white girl? Nah, she just trying to be the right girl. On a mission of womanhood, to being misunderstood, to doing the things she thinks she should. So she goes and cuts her hair off, a fresh start to take part in self-empowerment. Oh, because the grain be the black sheep, you be strong when they fall weak. That's brown skin Brenda with the supreme man. That's brown skin Brenda with the supreme man. That's brown skin Brenda with the supreme man. With the supreme man. With the supreme man. That's brown skin Brenda with the supreme man. That's brown skin Brenda with the supreme man. That's brown skin Brenda with the supreme man. With the supreme man. With the supreme man. She got a fresh cut. People looking amazed. She walk around like ain't what? So what if my hair low? I'm letting my hair grow out into a fro. Keeping it moisturized, soft, and smelling good. If they don't like it at the office while I work at far. I ain't trying to comfort them when I confront them about my business and this minister. A supreme man, keep them on edge. She ain't getting no dreads. That's what everybody else got. She not buying the hair everybody else bought. Take pride in self, looking from head to toe. Yeah, everybody know when they steal. Young ladies look up to her and wanna be her. Spring up with the supreme hair. In the morning getting dressed with the South clothes that she wear. That's brown skin Brenda with the supreme hair. That's brown skin Brenda with the supreme man. That's brown skin Brenda with the supreme man. With the supreme man. With the supreme man. That's brown skin Brenda with the supreme man. That's brown skin Brenda with the supreme man. That's brown skin Brenda with the supreme man. With the supreme man. With the supreme man.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. All right. Here we go. All right. Back with some high and mighty talks. Please share this link. Those of you who are here who are coming into the room, please share this link. And, and even if you don't, that's fine. But I would appreciate it if you do. I want some calls coming in here. We're taking live calls and things like that. The live number is 929-430-5191. I'll make sure that is correct. Yeah, 929-430-5191. I'm taking live calls. Taking live calls. The topic is going to be the debunking of the African transatlantic slave trade and our link to Africa, our supposed link to Africa as ethnic Americans. Before I start, I want to start off always in the name of Amen the Supreme, the all-powerful, the one and only true Lord. In Amen we trust, in Amen we think, and in Amen we continue forward forever Good evening. I'm your host, the intellectual NUBEN MENKARAYZZ. This is High and Mighty Talks with me, NUBEN MENKARAYZZ, and I'm going to be discussing again the topic of Pan-Africanism. I'm going to talk about everything Africa today because I wanted to do a definitive video while I got this out of the way. I wanted to do a definitive video for my ethnic American brothers and sisters out there who are falsely being called African American, falsely being called black people, falsely being called Negroes. This is for my copper-colored brethren and sisters out there, the brothers and sisters out there, the copper-colored races, the original inhabitants of America, the real ethnic Americans, the real indigenous Native Americans of this country, of this continent, of North and South America, which we are inhabitants of, the first inhabitants of. I said this in the last video that, as ethnic Americans, members of the American Republic, as ethnic Americans, we do not subscribe to the whole African connection. We do not subscribe to the whole belief that all life started in Africa, especially not our lives. You see, as ethnic Americans, we bear witness that our lives started here in America, in the continent of America, where we, like I said, before we were in the South and Central America, Mexico, and we made our way into North America. That's our, our great migration into North America, not through Africa. Okay. And while I'm on this, I just wanted to, just touch on the whole, just from the beginning, the whole idea that all life started in Africa and that we are in somehow, some way linked to Africa because our skin is dark, right? Now, huh? Am I coming in clear? I think I can hear myself. Am I coming in clear? I just want to make sure. No? I'm not coming in clear? I'm not coming in clear? You see, as ethnic Americans. Huh?
A couple people said it's on you on mute.
No.
Okay, you coming in clear now. I'm
coming in clear? Did everybody hear what I said in the beginning? Well, it came back here, so I'm assuming everybody heard it. I don't have to repeat myself, do I?
They said that 709 is 712.
Okay. All right. So, as I said, I'm going to be addressing this business of the African connection, our so-called African connection, which doesn't exist. I'm going to be addressing that logically and rationally because I'm the first one, going back to 2012 when MENTELLECT radio started on YouTube, on BLOGTALK, and then we eventually made our way to YouTube. I'm the first one that was pushing logical and rational thinking as a collective body of people and as individual people when it came to teachings, because prior to me, we had a whole lot of bogus Pan-African inspired / conscious, black conscious, or as I call it, black unconscious inspired teachings that have kept our people in a trick bag, because we sitting up here and we're trying to make some connection to Africa, a connection that does not exist, a connection that, we don't embrace for a reason because it never did exist. So the record had to be set straight about our true origin, our heritage, and our ethnicity as a people. I say that we are ethnic Americans because we are the only real Americans here in America, the only real ones that are native to this continent of North, South America. Now, the Africa thing. They get this whole idea, a lot of these Pan-Africanists get this whole idea that all life started in Africa and that we Africans. They get this idea from a gentleman by the name of Leakey. I think he's from, he's a South African archaeologist, something like that, Louis S.B. Leakey. And he was one of the main ones, and I think, I don't know what Darwin, but I'm thinking it's Leakey. Whatever, one of these Caucasians, it don't matter. They all talk out of their head anyway. They claim that all life, because they found some fossils and bones and things like that in Africa, right? That this is the oldest place of civilization based on the fossils they found. But here's a question, a logical question. If you did not comb every inch of the earth, every square mile of the earth, how can you say that you know for a fact that all life started in Africa because you found some, very old fossils and bones. How could you say that if you haven't combed every part of the earth? If you haven't combed every part of the earth, if you haven't, checked every square inch, every square mile of the earth, then you can't make that statement now, can you? Because all you could say at that point is from what we know, from what we found, what we know, as far as we know. Because if you say as far as we know, all life started in Africa based on these bones that we found, these fossils we found, fine, as far as you know. That doesn't mean that that is a real answer. It does not mean that it's concrete. But a lot of you so-called Pan-Africanists, you run with that because the Caucasians called you African, which like I said before, if they did not label us Africans, if they did not say that we are native to that part of the land, would we be saying that? Would we be saying that? Because you can find our people all over the damn planet and regions and whatnot. Even in Europe, our people all over the planet. So, what all of a sudden makes you go with that whole idea that our branch, our base, our foundation is Africa? Where do you get that from? Where do you Pan-Africanists get that from? Is it something that you have researched? I mean, went out and did the digs yourself, went out and gathered fossils yourself, went out and did all of these, digs and excavations yourself? Because I could respect if you guys went out here and you actually combed every inch of the earth and you excavated stuff and you went and, did all this, but you didn't do any of that. What you did was you heard some Caucasian say something, make a theoretical assertion concerning the whole African topic, and y'all just went right with it. Like you always do, like you educated niggas always do. You always go with whatever Caucasians say, as long as they wearing a suit and a tie and they speaking with authority and they got a DR in front of their name and a PhD in back of their name. You just believe them. That's just a license for them to lie to you. That DR in front of their name, that fake doctorate that they hand out to whoever got enough money or whoever cooning enough, and that PhD in the back, that's just the end all be all with you guys. That's all. That's the end all be all with you. Am I coming in clear? Am I coming in clear? Okay. And so I had to do a video debunking this. I had to do a video debunking it with just one question. One question. Did they comb every square inch of the planet to find other bones and fossils to make that statement? Because that's what you would literally have to do in order to make that statement and make it real in the minds of people. That's like saying, I'm going to just look over here and whatever I find over here, that's what it is. As opposed to, I got to look, you got to look everywhere before you can make a statement like that. That's my point. So that debunks the whole, Africa is the oldest place and life started in Africa. That's a load of BS, man. That's a load of BS. You see, that's that whole humanism movement where they want to, where these Caucasians want to preach that we all the same and there's no differences and we all come from Africa and all this other business. That's humanism and that whole, idea of we one people, one human race, but that's not true. That's not true. It can't be true because, as I said, logically, you can see that we don't look the same as everybody else. We look different from everybody else. So what does that do? That denotes a different genetic material that we have that everybody else don't have. That denotes that in how we look, how our hair is, how our hair grows, our skin. And you look at them and they have a totally different genetic material than us. So why don't we just, accept it as that? Because you're not going to get me to believe in something just because somebody who's quote unquote so-called educated and standing up here as a so-called authority, right? A so-called authority chooses to tell us that this is what this is. And basically because I'm an authority and I'm the highest on the totem pole and I'm Caucasian. And so y'all got to believe what I'm saying. That's the same thing as, like I said, that's the same thing as religion. You claim you don't want to believe in religion. You claim you don't want to believe in God and the devil and all this other business, which again, I don't subscribe to neither. But you claim that you don't want to believe in that. But then how are you any different if you believe in what these scientists are telling you about your origins? How are you any different? And these people just totally ignore our ethnic American roots here that we didn't even have to look hard to find. we were pointed in the right direction. My way of arming pointed in the right direction. We found our roots here in America. So, no, we have no connection with Africa. Africa is not the oldest place of civilization on earth, and not every life did start in Africa. That's a lie. Logically, that's a lie. You see, logically, that's a lie. And this whole idea that everybody evolved from so-called black people, and, you know, people went to different areas, and, you know, they had dark skin and they were so-called black, and then they just started turning into Asian people over time through climate control, and turning into white people, and turning into East Indians. That's a load of BS. That's some more that theoretical BS. That's some more that theoretical BS to try to link all of us together. Let me tell you something. Climate does not change. Climate does not change your genetic structure. That's a lie. Climate does not change your genetic structure. Okay? What's in you is in you. How is something outside of you going to change that which is in you? How is that going to change? That's like saying, I'm going to show you how illogical that sounds. That's like saying, oh, okay, Michael Jackson, you know, destroyed his face. You know, he destroyed his face. He had plastic surgery and he made himself look like a white woman, or whatever the hell he looked like. He made himself look like that. But now, okay, so now that he destroyed his face, his insides, he can produce white children. Now that he looks like a Caucasian, he can produce white children. Of course not. What's going to come out of him is brown children. Bronze children are going to come out from his sperm if he made children. They're going to produce bronze children. Okay, he's not going to produce any grays or mulattoes or whatever. He's going to produce bronze children because his genetic material is still it. So that, again, debunks the whole thing that, changes on the outside of you, on the exterior will change things on the interior. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. Okay? At least not with us. At least not with us. People are genetically set in a certain way. Their genetic material is set in a certain way, and that's just what it is. No matter what's going on the outside, what's already stored inside of you, what is already in your cellular makeup, that's already established. Your genetic material is already established. You cannot change that. So miss me with the old, everybody start off as African and black, you know, and then we eventually, because that's another way they set you up. They want to say, oh, so-called, quote unquote, us as quote unquote, so-called black people, we're primitive. And they're more advanced, and you know, as they came away from us, they advanced, and they were mentally more, you know, whatever. Now again, if the so-called white man believes that, if these Caucasians really believe, these scientists really believe that, and that we all the same, then why are we treated different from everybody? Why is everybody focusing racism toward us if we all the same? If we all one human race, why is all the racism focused at us? Why is all the hate and all the vitriol and all the angst and the anger and all that focused on us if we the same? Well, you could clearly see we are not the same. I'm getting our people to embrace the difference of who we are. Stop with this African lie. Stop with this African slave. And then again, I'm going to address the slave trade thing. Again, because I never logically addressed this like I wanted to. People are claiming that we came over here from Africa on slave ships. Okay. Now, I want to show you something. If you look at the so-called bronze people, the people who were born here, raised here, whatever, you could look at certain people and tell who belongs in a certain setting. Okay? You could look in this society, in nature and things like that. You could look in certain settings and tell who belongs here or who is native to this place and who is not. When you look at Caucasians and you look at them in the landscape of the natural space of America, you could tell they look like foreigners. They don't look like they really belong here. And you could definitely tell but that's neither here nor there. We already know that they came from someplace else. But you could look at people and tell in the background, in the, you know, environment, whether they're native to this land, whether they are indigenous to this land versus them being immigrants, being brought from and planted into this land. You can tell Caucasians are not native to America. You can look at them in the landscape and tell they're not native. You look at them in the woods. You look at them in, you know, the natural places in America, and you see them standing there. It just looks like it looks off. You put the so-called Asians in places in America, standing in certain places. They look like tourists. They don't look like they really belong there. It looks off. You put the Mongoloid Indians, which you don't even really see them nowhere, and places like that. And again, it still looks off. The only people, even so-called Africans, the real tribal Africans, you bring them into America, and they could put on regular clothes like bronze people, just regular clothes, and you could still say that they stand out, like they don't fit into that atmosphere, into that environment. They don't fit there. Just like if you take so-called black people, like I used to see, they take so-called black people, aka ethnic Americans, and take them over into Africa and have them around the Africans. They don't fit in over there, man. How many of y'all seen that? I mean, you gotta really have a keen eye. You can tell. I don't care if you try to dress like you can put the damn dashiki on and everything else. If you see a so-called black person from over here, if you see a so-called black person from over there that goes to Africa and they can dress like the Africans and everything, they're not gonna blend in with the Africans. Ethnic Americans don't blend in with tribal Africans. They don't. Right? They don't blend in with that. So keep that in mind. They don't blend in with the tribal Africans. We look different from them for a reason. This is a guy that does this show. I forget what it's called. I think it's called Back to Africa or Back to something like that. But this guy's clearly ethnic American. He's clearly ethnic American, but he obviously believes he's African American and that he came from Africa. But so what this guy does is, he's, like I said, he's a bronze man from over here, copper colored brother from over here. But he got a beard on his face and he got a fro, little natural, so-called fro, but a natural. But so he goes over into Africa and he tries to go to these different places and he's trying to convince so-called black people over here, the copper colored people over here, our people, to go back to Africa or get in touch with Africa or make some kind of connection with Africa. And when I watch him standing amongst the tribal Africans and the real natives of that land, the tribal ones, he looks out of place. He doesn't look like he fits in. And I could tell how they interact with him. They don't really feel like he's part of them. This is what I'm talking about. We don't fit into the landscape of Africa. You take our people over into that, I guarantee they're not going to be like, oh, I feel at home. Like I said, that's programming and conditioning to make you think that that's where you come from. So therefore, that's your home, that's your people, that's it. That's all programming and conditioning. Like I said, the whole goal is to push our people out as the real Americans, the ethnic Americans, because see, they didn't expect our people to still be here after all this time that Caucasians came here. They would have thought that they would have thoroughly gentrified America out. They would have made America a white country or a mixed race country. And they're still pushing that goal to make America a mixed race country and push out the ethnic Americans. This is what's behind people like Fat Joe. This was behind people like him sitting up here talking about Latinos created 50% of hip hop. Now, like I said, I know I mentioned this before, and on a small scale, that don't seem like it's nothing. But in actuality, it is something, because he's sitting up here telling a bold-faced lie, right? And by telling that lie, he's not just doing that just to be doing that. He's being prompted to do that. Now, Fat Joe is coming on damn BET. He's gonna be hosting the BET Rap Awards, and they calling him a rap god. They calling this guy a rap god. It ain't but maybe 2 or 3 Latinos in hip hop like that. And the real hip hop, it was him, Big Punisher, who dead. And these guys ain't come to the 90s. You can't talk about any significant Latino that was in hip hop before Fat Joe and them. They might talk about Prince Marky D, who was part of the Fat Boys. But Prince Marky D, the guy, for those of you who remember the Fat Boys, you wouldn't even know he was Puerto Rican. It wasn't like he was even pushing that. He like a light-skinned nigga with a curly afro. You didn't even know he was Puerto Rican. I didn't know he was Puerto Rican at one point. He like a light-skinned nigga with a curly afro. He passed away, though. You see? So come on with that. He wasn't up here trying to push no Latino thing. He was acting like just a regular so-called bronze man. With the other 2 guys. So it wasn't no real significant groups of people that wasn't ethnic American that was in hip hop. Hip hop, so-called rap music was started by ethnic Americans. You see, rap music was started by ethnic Americans. That's our heritage and culture. And we should stop linking that to Africa. A real culture, a real history, a real heritage here as ethnic Americans. The only real indigenous Americans of this landscape. We fit into the landscape of America, North America, South America, Central America. I was watching a video the other, like a couple of days ago, but well, about a week ago. And they showed you the people in South America, right? I think it was this guy, he went into, either, not Cuba, but, Belize or one of those, no, Colombia. He was in Colombia. And man, if you see all of the bronze people there, not African, bronze, copper colored people like us here in America. If you see in Colombia, and he went to another place where you would think they all got straight hair and they all look like the, you know, Guala looking, you know, Latinos, you know, the Bering Strait crosses. You would think that that's how these people look. But you seen bronze people, ethnic Americans over there that look just like the people here. Only difference was they speak Spanish. They look just like the people here. They don't look African. They got naturals and things like that, braids and all this stuff. So where they come from? They don't got no tribal African look. Where they come from? All right? Where these people come from? They was always there. They're the descent. They come from the same place we all come from as ethnic Americans through our Mesoamerican ancestry, through our Olmec, Aztec, Inca, and Mayan ancestors, Toltec, all that's our people right there. So they come from where we come from. We are from the same place. All right? So anybody want to have a comment on anybody, comment that you can call in 929-430-5191. Taking questions, taking calls, comments, whatever. Like I said, this is the third installment of High and Mighty Talks. This is the high and I'm the mighty. And of course, I'm NUBEN MENKARAYZZ. And, you know, in Amen we trust, and Amen we think, and in Amen we continue forward. So with this forward thinking message for the ethnic American, a phrase that I decided to coin and attach to our people because it fits. Ethnic American fits. So if you hear anybody else talking about ethnic American, they copying NUBEN MENKARAYZZ. Just like you're hearing certain people all of a sudden talking about, yeah, logic is this, and logic should rule, and logic and rational thinking and logic. Nobody was talking like that to NUBEN MENKARAYZZ game. And I'm going to do a broadcast on all of the innovative ways of thinking that I brought through MENTELLECT to the public that had people thinking. I'm the first one I'm one of the first people that got people really, really thinking. Prior to that, prior to 2012, everybody was basically believing in a philosophy, a doctrine, some Pan-African talk, some black unconscious nonsense, or, you know, some Hotep stuff. Man, like I said, you got a lot of so-called Hotep hustlers out here, a lot of Pan-African hustlers, scam Africans. You got a lot of these people out here running game and whatnot because culture is the new hustle. Culture is the new hustle for the so-called conscious community. A lot of these guys that made their way from New York down to Atlanta now. Certain people, I'm not going to say no names, but a lot of these scam Africans and black conscious people, they done made their way from New York down to Atlanta, North Carolina, and places like that. Because I guess the rent too high and COVID, and they can't afford to scam no more here in New York. So they made their way down there to spread some more black unconscious nonsense. But see, it's time to wake up from that state of unconsciousness. And it's time to bury Africa. Okay? It's time to bury Africa. It's time to bury African American. It's time to bury all that for the intelligent ones of my people. It's time to definitely throw black away. Throw that in the garbage. Anybody still talking about being black in 2022 when here it is, we done found proof, like I said, that was always in our face who we really was. We sitting in our own country. We sitting in our own country wondering, well, what's our heritage? What's our national? American, stupid. American, hello. Ethnic American. Real American. See, those are the Caucasians, the Asians, the East Indians, the Arabs, and all them people that come over here. Those are immigrant Americans. They came from someplace else. We are ethnic Americans. We didn't come from no place else. I'm sorry, the African thing, we don't believe you need more people. Sorry, Mr. Mr. Caucasoid or Mr. whoever, sorry, we don't believe you. Sorry, so-called black educated scholars and whatnot, Boule Coons, we don't believe you with your Pan-African talk. No, thank you. Not here. We waking up right now. This is the awakening. What I refer to as the American Evolution. You see my Olmec shirt on. Shout out to one of the brothers who did this. We're gonna be putting out stuff soon, stuff like this. Our people need to be wearing, you know, apparel like this with the Olmecs on there, with the Aztec, with the Inca, the Mayan, with the copper color. Let us know what our true identity is, because we have a real culture, we have a real history. And I told y'all that because you all embrace Africa, because you just all over the place, we don't know what y'all don't know what the real history and culture is and the heritage is. But now it's being given right here, raw and uncut, live and direct to you all as ethnic Americans, to the intelligent ones of our people. Remember I said, we acknowledge and we align ethnic American with the American Republic, a community that, a movement that we become aligned with, that we are aligned with as ethnic Americans, to basically embrace our ethnic American heritage, embrace our music. Let's take our music back, our jazz, our R&B, our hip hop, our rap music, our bebop, all our soul music, our rock and roll. Take back the things that are ours and stop allowing people to, and then bring some more things forward that are ours, because we are a creative people. Take back our food and whatnot and replace it with, you know, because most of this stuff they call soul food, right, was stuff that was made on the fly from the condition our people was in, eating garbage where we had to use the pig, which we should not be eating no pig. And I said this before on my cast, that, you know, it's appalling to me, because there's a Netflix show called Living High on the Hog, you know, African American cuisine, and they got the damn pig. You know, they got to make sure they say high on the hog. Now, here it is. They're promoting the consumption of swine to so-called black people, aka ethnic Americans. They up here saying that pig is somehow native, or, you know, first of all, pig, the swine, the hog, the bull, whatever you want to call it, is not native to America. That's not native to America. So what that means is it was a time where we did not eat pork. Pork was brought over here by the white man. Pork was brought over here by the Spaniards. They was bringing pigs and hogs, and, you know, they brought pigs over here. Okay. And they started breeding pigs here. That's how pigs got into America. There was no pigs here. All right. There was no cows here. Cows were brought from, Europe and, I think in, I think Europe, and I forget what else. And I think India, they probably brought cattle over from there, but cows are not native to America. Pigs are not native to America. Chickens are not native to America. That came with the Chinese. That came with the Asians. They bred chickens and things like that. What was native to this land, the foods that we ate, was the buffalo, the bison, which I'm a, you know, heavy consumer of. I love me some bison steak. I don't touch cow. I do not touch any kind of cow. But I will have some bison. I will have me some bison oxtails. I'll tear up some bison oxtails. I am an admitted meat eater. I don't care. I know in this era of veganism and these guys, these dreaded coons eating a whole bunch of vegan this and vegan that. No, so I'm a meat eater. I'm a carnivore, you know, proud carnivore, you know, testosterone driven meat eater. That's just who I am. I'm not going to try to fit into some other dynamic and lie to my, oh, you know, oh, I just only eat vegetables. I only eat raw vegetables. Man, let me ask y'all something, because I see all these raw vegan people, these people that eat raw vegetables and put soy sauce on it. Y'all out of y'all mind, man. Like, part of, you know, when I eat, I want to enjoy my food. I don't want to feel like I'm eating paper. Okay, because that's, you know, I ate some, I tried some of that raw vegan stuff, and it's like you guys eat paper, seasoned paper. No, I can't just eat fruit and eat vegetables. That's an incomplete diet. You know, a lot of these black conscious coons were selling that whole vegan slash vegetarian slash fruitarian diet. You know, certain clowns were selling that to our people, acting like, oh, this is how we used to eat. We never ate like that. We always ate balanced meals. Here in the Americas, we always had bison. We ate buffalo. In fact, some of the first cowboys and cattle wrestlers were our people, were the ethnic Americans. We were wrestling buffalo, and we were the first ones to grab up the horses here, because horses used to run wild in America, in North America. They would run in packs, and you would have to go to certain places, and they would run through the Carolinas, packs of wild Mustangs and horses, and you would have to catch these horses and break them in order to ride them, in order to control them. And our people were masters at that. We was doing that in South America, and we was doing it in North America. So we the first real cattlemen here. They started calling us cowboys because they had us working with the cows, and the Caucasian males was calling themselves cattlemen or ranchers. So they would always try to differentiate that they're the men and we're the boys, and they would call us cowboys. So, and then they was like, well, they start seeing the cowboy name sounded cool. Then all of a sudden now they cowboys. You see, but the original cattlemen, the original cattle wrestlers and things like that was our people. We was taking the horses, breaking horses, and going out with groups. Men would go out and they would catch bison, catch buffalo, because the men back there, they was eating steak. They had all kinds of steak and things like that. The women were prepared to bison and buffalo. That's where the so-called Mongoloid Indians get that from. They show you them hunting buffalo. Where do you think they got that from? It was so-called black people, bronze men, copper-colored men, ethnic American men doing that first on horses, breaking and catching buffalo, because there was no cows here. So you imagine having to catch and wrestle down a buffalo and you know, kill it for food, slaughter it for food. But that's where your so-called Mongoloid Indians, they came in and they learned that from us. You see, they learned that from us, how to capture the buffalo and pull down the buffalo and things like that. They learned that from us. But we also knew how to farm land, which they didn't. That's why you notice you don't really see when they show you the so-called Mongoloid Indians, the so-called American Indians, you notice they don't never show you them farming any land. They show you basically them camping and living on the outskirts and having up teepees set up, and they just basically have campgrounds. You've never seen any of them building houses or having land and farming land, because they couldn't do that. They didn't know how to do that. The most they knew how to do was hunt buffalo and basically live off the land, like camping. So we were the first ones to cultivate the land here in America. We were the first ones to grow from this land, which is what made our people valuable. Which again debunks that whole lie about our people coming from Africa on slave ships. Because again, why would you bring unskilled people here just to pick cotton? Why would you bring unskilled people here who didn't speak the language? Make logically and rationally, as I've always gotten y'all to look at things. Why would you bring a bunch of unskilled people into the country who don't speak the language, and you're going to try and beat them and make them pick cotton? Make that make sense to me. How long do you have to beat these people? How long do you have to get them to understand that they got to go and work? They're going to fight you. They don't know what you're talking about. Make that make sense to me. How were they able to do that? How were they able to bring a bunch of people over? You basically, you could beat them to death. If they don't understand you, what does that mean? And you tell them pick cotton, you're going to tell them pick cotton, pick cotton, pick cotton. That's what you brought them here for. You did all of that. Or you did all that to get people who you had indentured people who lived on the land do that. No. Doesn't make sense. Now, does it? Doesn't make sense. You know why it doesn't make sense? Because it's not true. What made the slaves valuable, is their skilled labor. I said that. The Africans weren't skilled labor. The Africans weren't skilled, because don't the white man always say, oh, he brought the Africans over from Africa, and all they was doing was climbing in trees and living in huts and all this other stuff. Ain't that what they say? That's what they say the Africans did. So then why would you bring a bunch of primitive people over to a place where you need people to work? You got to be explaining stuff to people. You got to be beating them and killing them and doing all this other stuff. Why would you do that? You see, you got a whole bunch of Amistad that's happening all over the place and whatnot. Out of all them people you bring over here, how many people you going to lose on the way over? And the Atlantic Ocean, let's just be for real here. The Atlantic Ocean is not an easy ocean to travel. It is not at all. Even today, the Navy doesn't like to go and travel the Atlantic Ocean because the tides of it are so tumultuous, and they could, even now, and these guys got metal ships, iron ships and metal ships and things like steel ships, and these people were working with wooden ships. So are you crazy? Wooden ships going across there, and you basically depending on waves and air to steer you into America. And you doing this with people who are pissing on each other, crapping on each other, doing all this stuff, defecating on each other, urinating on each other, women having their periods and stuff, people dying, things like that. Are you serious? Just to get people here who can't speak English, don't know what you're talking about, you beat the hell out of them, they're gonna fight with you, half them dying, things like that. This is a smart financial plan, huh? This is a smart business venture. Really? Make that make sense to me. I can see you saying they did that a few times. They did it a few times. Dropped a lot of them off in the West Indies, which is what really happened. But they brought very few to very next to no slaves from Africa into North America. Something like around 2 or 3% of that. And that stopped in 1808. Because they see that it wasn't profitable or feasible to keep bringing people here. And then you bringing the people into here and you're letting them breed and they're coming here and they're breeding and whatnot. So now you're populating the place with natives, with people who are not even native to the land. You're populating the place. So now you're going to make it more difficult on yourself, because when these people decide to come back and fight you back or whatever the case may be, it's your fault because you're bringing people here. So again, the whole idea of the African slave trade, the logic behind it don't even make sense from a business standpoint. Forget all of the emotional connection you have with this African Holocaust lie. Forget all of the emotional connection you got with it. Make it logically make sense to me, because let me tell you something about business people. Slavery was a business for Caucasians. It was a business for Caucasians, for the Arabs and whatnot. They're going to go with business people because they want to keep money flowing in. They want to stay rich. They're going to do that which is feasible. They want to go with what makes sense. It does not make sense over the long term to bring people into a country, into a society where you're trying to make white people the face of the country, and you're bringing foreigners in here who don't even know what to do, don't know how to work, don't know the language, don't know nothing. All the beating in the world is not going to make them know how to pick cotton or whatever you claiming that you had them doing. That's not going to work. No, what they did was they took the people who already knew how to speak English, because they was around Caucasians. They seen Caucasians come and go. They've been around Caucasians. They know our people knew English from listening to them, right? They knew English. They knew, and they was already working the land and, and growing on the land and fixing the land, doing all this stuff from where they Mesoamerican ancestors, the Mayans, them came here. They came in here farming the land because they come from places, artisans, and these people who farm land, these people who seamstresses, gross. If you look at the images of the Mesoamericans, especially the Aztec and the Mayans, which you can clearly see they're so-called black people, bronze, copper-colored people. If you look at the Mesoamerican, you see they're wearing clothes and linen and stuff like that. They're not naked. Those people are wearing clothes and what looks like shirts. They got hair braided and stuff like that. These people are making clothes, which means they were harvesting cotton. You see, they were wearing clothes. So they've been picking cotton and harvesting and making it and sewing it into that. So that's not nothing new. Look at the picture. You see them way they was doing that in South America. They were farming land. They were growing cotton and harvest. They knew how to do all of that. You see? That's what, and when they came into North America, they continued to do that. And the white man said, hey, they know how to do all of this stuff. We might as well, let's just make them slaves, call them African, try to link them with the slave trade, because you know, they weren't supposed to be, you know, they weren't supposed to be enslaving all people. They were supposed to be the so-called African slave trade. So again, they said, well, we're just going to go ahead and call y'all Negroes and Africans, and we'll just enslave you because it would be more profitable. It's more profitable to enslave skilled people than it is to enslave a bunch of people who don't know how to do a damn thing. The Africans didn't know how to do nothing. They enslaved people who was already here, who are descendants of the Mesoamericans who came into North America first, from our Mesoamerican ancestry, who came from the South of America and the central parts of America in here, and they just enslaved those people. And they enslaved them in those places too, because they were skilled labor. They knew how to build. They knew how to grow food. That was more important. You knew how to build, right? You knew how to build. And a lot of them already knew how to blacksmith already, because a lot of these people, they passed those trades down. The son might have they might have been making spears and metal things and whatnot. So that's all kinds of metal working. They making spears and things like that. The same way how blacksmiths and whatnot was making guns. You got a lot of people working in metal, making spears for fighting and arrows, you know, in Mesoamerica. So it's the same thing. So a lot of our people already had these skills already, which was what made them valuable. Remember when they would show you on like slave movies, they'll say, oh, we got this slave up here. You know, he knows how to do carpentry. He knows how to do this. That's what made the slave valuable. Or this woman up here, she's a seamstress. She knows how to sew. She knows how to cook. She knows how to do this, that, and that. So picture him teaching you how to do carpentry. He didn't know how to do no damn carpentry. Picture him knowing how to do. Picture him teaching you how to do carpentry. Picture him teaching you how to farm the land. He didn't know how to do none of that. When they first came into America, and like when they started, the early people that came in here, they were starving, man. They was depending on a lot of our people to feed them. And a lot of our people did. It wasn't the Mongoloid Indians that were doing. They tell that lie that was so-called Indians that they came across and they were showing them how to grow corn. That's a lie, man. That was our people. That's a lie. Okay? We need to expose the lie. Expose the lie. Right? And like I said, people don't get mad because we don't want to stay in our place. You know, the place they made for us, we don't want to stay in the place they made for us as quote-unquote so-called Africans. But hey, man, listen, we're not going to sit up here and hide who we are anymore as ethnic Americans. We shouldn't hide who we are under a bushel, under, you know, whatever, and just be in the background while we allow other races of people to sit up here and call themselves American. Letting white people, of all people, call themselves American. Like I said, the people who have no right calling themselves American, like I said, are calling themselves American. Yeah, we don't get that luxury. We don't get that luxury. We told every time we try to find ourselves, and we find ourselves in different societies, in different civilizations. Oh, well, y'all must have got there through slavery, and y'all Africans, so that the Africans came there through slavery. Then notice that's always when they find us in they'll find us in China and in Europe. Oh, see, they got there because there was a slave trade going on, and that's how y'all got here. The African they make sure they attach African to everything because the Caucasians have already labeled Africans in Africa as the slave colony. It is a slave colony. The whole point of when the Caucasians were dividing, when the Greeks and all these people were dividing up Africa, when they were first colonizing Africa, like I said, they gave it that name to basically be an earmark for of what they would be dividing up in the puzzle. Like, you know, they divide different areas and be like, okay, I'm gonna have this area over here. The Greeks or the Romans or whoever, we're gonna take this part over here. We're gonna seize control of this over here. You see? So that's how Africa started getting colonized. And they feel good that they colonized our people. And so they always wanted to have, even in America, that whole idea of colonization in our minds, that they came to Africa and colonized us. And that idea became very popular here in America. So what did they start doing? The Caucasians start doing, they start labeling us Africans, because they know that Africa was one of the first continents they conquered. You see, that the Greeks and Romans, all these people conquered. They knew that Africa was some of the first continents they conquered. And they always wanted us to have that, oh, we conquered you, we brought you over here, and we forced you to work for us, and you basically are bitches, and we just manhandled you. They want to tell that story. But it's not true. The only problem with that is it's not true. But unfortunately, you got a lot of people who want to go with that story, who want to go with that account. I am not one of them. I am one that does not subscribe to lies. I am one who does not, sit up here and, buy into a bunch of BS. Like I said, we are the ethnic Americans. We are the only real Americans. And like I said, the reason why that was kept away from us is because, as they say, when you know that something is yours, and see, this is the problem with so-called, quote unquote, black people. For the longest time, you believed that, oh, you came from someplace else. This ain't your country. Go back. White people tell you go back to Africa, forgetting that they come from Europe. They should, if anybody should be telling somebody to go back somewhere, they should be told to go back to Europe. But here it is, you're being told by people who are not native, not even native to this land, to go back to Africa, where you belong. And you don't belong in Africa. And a lot of y'all believe that nonsense. Oh, well, maybe this ain't my country. So, maybe I should, go back to Africa. Maybe I should become Pan-Africanist. Maybe I should go and get on the first thing smoking back to Africa, and then turn around and have them people treat you like shit. Excuse my language. No, thank you. No, thank you. You don't see amongst those 54 countries, and I'm saying, oh, we want our brothers and sisters to come. Nah. You don't see, out of them 54 countries, do you see Umar Johnson there? Out of those 54 countries, Mr. Umar Johnson, he's so-called Pan-Africanist. Do you see Mr. Umar Johnson in any of those countries? Do you see him making a foundational base in Africa for his so-called African brethren and sisters here and my question to them is this. Why are you only focused on so-called black people here in America, Umar Johnson? Why aren't you focused on black people in South America? So-called black people in South America, so-called black people in Central America and Mexico. Why don't you focus on them and tell them and push Pan-Africanism to them? Why are you pushing Pan-Africanism on our people here in North America? Why? You see, why you don't have a foundational base in Africa if you claim Africa's so good? That's the same double-minded thinking, like that guy Rotimi, the guy who was on Power. He's supposed to be Nigerian. It's the same guy, this guy Rotimi. He's sitting up here bigging up Nigeria and telling ethnic Americans, oh, y'all need to go back to Africa where the air is crisp. And I'm from Nigeria and the air is crisp. And, you breathing in health problems. You're breathing in death. You're breathing in problems. And Rotimi he's here in America. Rotimi's here in America, right? And he did this video where they got him out here repping Atlanta and talking about Atlanta and things like that. And he represented Atlanta. I'm like, but you was just talking about Nigeria. Why ain't you in Nigeria if it's so good? Why ain't you in Nigeria? Why are your people coming over here? Why are these people coming from Africa over here? Why? And they trying to get us to go over there. No. No. You got to realize that it's not just, the white faces that are lying to our people, that are hustling our people out of their heritage. It's black faces that's helping them as well. It's black faces that's helping them as well, because the black faces are told, they are told that in order to keep a good living coming in, getting that money or doing whatever, they have to promote these lies. They have to promote these lies of Pan-Africanism, these lies of the African slave trade, these lies of our people being African and all this other stuff. They have to promote the lies. It's time for our people to stand up as intelligent people and break away from the lies, break away from the false narrative of some African slave trade and 100 million of us came over here. And y'all really believe that. That's the sad part about that. The sad part about that is our people really, really believe that. They don't think that, hey, this don't even make sense. This doesn't make sense that they brought all of us over here and none of us, and ain't nobody know how to speak English. And, you know, we basically brought here to pick cotton and under duress, and, you know, and we had to get whipped and beaten and whatnot, and just to pick cotton, and, you know, and we, you know, it don't make sense to me. It don't make sense to me at all. Huh? I'm going to go a little past that. I'm trying to see about anybody coming in, any new callers coming in and whatnot. But, you know, I'm going to wrap it up in another, you know, 15 minutes or so. I'm just enjoying my time talking with you all. I'm enjoying my time here on High and Mighty Talks. And, you know, like I said, we need to be embracing our ethnic American roots, our ethnic American heritage. I was saying on my broadcast the other night, if you notice about the fighters here in America, the ones who have been heavyweight champions, and I was saying this the other night on my cast, you notice the heavyweight champions, right? Like Muhammad Ali, Joe Louis, Mike Tyson, George Foreman, Joe Frazier, all of these guys, Ken Norton, I noticed it. All of these guys got a Olmec look to them. All of these guys have an Olmec look to them. Hell, I got an Olmec look to me. I got a Mayan look to me. I don't find my Mayan dual or my Mayan double, and just looking up Mesoamerica, I done found my face so much in Mesoamerica. I done found my image, my face, my everything, my complexion, and everything in Mesoamerica. I ain't find myself in Africa. I found myself in the statues of leaders and people in Mesoamerica, in Mayan culture. A lot of our people are from the Mayan culture. A lot of our people, mass majority of so-called black people, are from the Mayan culture here. I know I'm definitely one of them. And then, like I said, it's all the same thing. The Olmecs, folded, the Aztec, the Inca, it's all the same people. So this is good stuff, by the way. $8 an ounce. So, what is the message for tonight? What is the message for tonight? The message for tonight is, because I wanted to have this definitive cast. The message for tonight is, we're not African. We did not come through no African slave trade. Our lives did not start in Africa. That's a lie, because real life's civilization. Real life is civilization. Okay? So wherever civilization starts, that's where life starts. The oldest civilizations are found here in the Yucatan, in America, in Central America, South America, the Yucatan. That's where the oldest civilizations are found, here in the Americas, not in Africa. You can look that up. The oldest civilizations are found here in the Americas, not in Africa. And our people built those civilizations. And you want to sit here and tell me, oh, we came from Africa to build that? Well, okay, if we came from Africa and why didn't we build those civilizations there? Why is there so much tribal activity and a bunch of primitive people there living in squalor, or living in huts, or living whatnot, doing all that tribal dancing? If we were there doing, you going to tell me we come from that, jumping around and swinging in trees, running around butt naked, and all these lies they tell you, we come from that to come over here, and all of a sudden we know how to build edifices, pyramids, and all this other stuff. Is that what you're telling me? No. Give me a break. We was always doing this. Civilization starts the forward movement of life. Okay? Just like that. So we just debunked the African thing. Like I said, if you didn't comb every inch of the planet looking for fossils, every last inch of it, I don't care if it's in damn Brooklyn, New York somewhere, go up under the ground and look for fossils there if need be. You see, you can't make that statement about life starting in Africa. Life starts wherever civilization starts, not with some damn creatures that's running around, the single-celled amoebas and all this other nonsense and all this freaked out monkey woman stuff and all this stuff y'all saying. Come on, man. Knock it off. Life starts where civilization starts. And wherever civilization starts and who starts civilization, that's where real life starts at. Simple as that. But that's it. All right, we're going to close out. In the name of Amen, by the power of Amen, Amen we trust. In Amen we thank, and in Amen we continue forward forever. I'm out. And go ahead.
Subscribe to MENTELLECT Patreon and join the American Republic. And subscribe to High and Mighty Talks on YouTube with NUBEN MENKARAYZZ.
MENTELLECT, rising out the black race to the white race, out the black race to the white race. It's the Republic of MENTELLECT, black race to the white race. If it's hell, then it's hell us. They tried everything just to spell us. Fed us religion, gave us fake gods. Through all of that, we beat the odds. Now we coming together under one flag. Colors red, gold, and blue. Superman, Superwoman, that's me and you. The infinite capability that we